Hi everyone, welcome to November 25th Kubeflow Model Registry bi-weekly meeting. As usual, a couple of housekeeping notes. This meeting is being recorded and this meeting adheres to the CNCF Code of Conduct. You can find the recording in the YouTube channel for the Kubeflow community. So there is where you can find the previous recordings with demos or things that we discussed in the previous meetings. We have typically some agenda items that we want to follow through. So everybody should have access to this document and can add it. I think that we can start with maybe if Milos, there are any updates from the release meetings that we wanted to cascade back into this working group, please let us know.
Well, there's nothing like specifically in today's release call, but let's say last week we had this 50% checkout. Like practically the release team wants to know like whether we were able to reach 50% of the progress. And my impression is that we are okay. We are above 50% based on the trackers that you guys have shared with me. If that's not the case, please alarm me. But so far, so good, I think. That's one thing. Second thing is there was a question about like having a third party like end user going through the documentation for every working group. That's like suggestion from Josh. Say like, hey, whether we are like, do we have somebody to go through our documentation and see how it's working out? Like maybe they get some suggestions to improve. And I'm thinking, and I was able to push that kind of low level, like because in my organization we have like kind of decision for some reasons to use Model Registry from Azure. But I think as soon as Model Registry becomes a full member, let's say, of like it's already, but as soon as we have this user interface, I think I'll be able to try again to push it to have this as a mainstream Model Registry in the PepsiCo, as I'm working for PepsiCo. But what I can do is I can I have a guy from infrastructure who was installing the Model Registry. He has some feedback. I will share that with you. So we can maybe update the documentation regarding installations. And also I have one senior data scientist that will run his code and practically try to integrate Model Registry. We have a development environment where we can do that without having upper management interfering. So we'll also have feedback from that, like so kind of using feedback. So yeah, I think it's okay. And if anybody has any other organization that's willing to like try and get feedback, to provide the feedback, that's going to be even better. And yeah, so far so good, I think.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Milos. Actually, yes. So there was one thing that I've noticed is that in the Slack, so we are keeping this tracker for the progress update, as you currently mentioned, Milos. So let's say, I think this is about the thing that we are working for, indeed, and we keeping the things. There was a questions about the use of milestones. I think that this one as well, it's very helpful to have the sort of like a visibility and binding about the work that we have done, specifically about issues that were sort of like raised in the past and we completed as part of the 1.10, because this will help us later on as we will need to provide some high-level release notes for the 1.10 about the Model Registry, things that we may have fixed in particular, and so on. The thing that I've added also here is that the percentage may not be always representative up to scale, also because, in my opinion, this percentage here is a bit misleading since every issue counts as one. So maybe you have one issue that is the tracker itself that sort of like counts as any other little bug fix that we had in here. But in general, also as well as listed in the milestones, we have the link to the trackers. So everybody who's interested to know what we are mainly working on can refer to here, and we can have the follow-up. Alrighty. So this was just a clarification because I saw some conversation in the Slack. All right.
Matteo, may I ask something?
Sure.
So if you go back on the issues on the issue tracker, that on the one, yeah. So if from this view, it seems like it's only like one or two things finished, but I guess it's not updated or.
So basically, the thing is that this was we taken the suggestion from the release team at the beginning of the end. Sorry, at the before the start of 1.10, at the ending of 1.9, to try to list what are the items that we be worked on. So for instance, I can tell you, and they suggested also to list everything in a tracker, the thing that we identified that we would like to work on, but then to roll over the thing that will not make it in 1.10. I can tell you that, for instance, very likely the NEM LND related enhancement will likely not make it in 1.10. Please, like that is not possible to do. While other thing we started to do, like for instance, improving on the CNCF maturity scale, we introduced license monitoring that was not available. We are keeping tracks on the CVs. We did some improvement and we are working on it as well. While there is as well integration with other components. So I think it's like this is a kind of like the way that we worked on this tracker since suggestion from the list.
Yeah, so, no, of course, that makes sense. I'm wondering if this needs to get updated then, since it's not reflecting kind of the reality for the release.
Yeah, it's very likely that, for instance, these two is like, for instance, Tony has since left the team, and I know that he's very busy in the new work arrangements. So this will likely carry over as well as these ones. Integration with other components, we had something done. For instance, like Alessio is working on the integration better with Kserve, hardening the CSI, and with some inference serving reconcile loop. But it's difficult to say if everything can land in time for the 1.10.
Yeah, because for me, for example, that I'm new with the project, it really helps me, will help me to understand like, hey, what are the main features that you are planning on releasing? Because when looking at the issues, like you need to go one by one, and sometimes it's like you need to go inside the issue, like to learn more about it. But this is great, but right now it's just like more like what we want to do, but not necessarily what's happening right now. So I think it would be great if we can update it, because we can easily, for people who are new to the community or anyone like wants to learn about the release, we could see easily what's planned for each module. I feel like we have so many like components that understanding what each component has planned to release on as part of the release, I think is important, and because the information sometimes is kind of scattered. But I love this. I think it's great. It just need to be updated, because I know you will finding things to working on the release. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like it makes a lot of sense, and indeed it's sort of like we've been also kind of like having different fronts open. We had, for instance, people that have joined as a contributor, have did some work, and then sort of like had something in their life, like maybe they changed jobs in between and things like that. For instance, I remember as well some integration with MLflow. We are in contact actually with Leo that mentioned that he's looking back into that one. But indeed, that is the reality of times of the especially external contributors who have done this on a pure volunteering basis. And so like I wanted to have a representation of those efforts in the roadmap, but it's a clear understanding that if the volunteer have to drop, it's a bit difficult to manage on that one. But
But you're planning on talking tomorrow as well on the community, right? Call to see if more people will join.
Yeah, I think it's like that is a recurring theme in the Kubeflow community meetings. So I'm not on very high hopes about that one. but definitely people who are interested in working in this team, I think this bi-weekly is the one that is most helpful to sort of like touch base, specifically for Model Registry.
Great. And one more thing. So if I'm trying to, so I don't know if you guys know, but my primary job at Red Hat is just, I work on OpenShift. So it's not about this. So I'm trying to dedicate this kind of, in between, but I am very passionate about this. So if I have the time and resources, I'm also part of the release team and the steering committee. But if I have time, is there an issue that I could start that doesn't require too much of knowledge on the deep knowledge on the module itself?
I think that eventually when we get to the CSI on inference service, maybe this is the part where Alessio, if he has some sort of like well perimetered items, maybe could be good suggestion, Valentina.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Can be posted. Maybe I can contribute. I would love to contribute. It will help me also to learn more and contribute to the community. Just need to balance the time. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina. All right.
Thank you.
So UI item, I think that Lucas, you wanted to add you want to speak to this one?
Yeah, sure. I can detail a little bit the overview of the current model registry roadmap, UI roadmap throughout. I think it's like I've just added a comment in the main GitHub issue. I was wondering if we should do a follow-up in the future in a separate ticket, but so far I think that's more or less the like we are covering here all the steps that we need for the release in the following 1.10 release. So far we've completed the first phase. Well, the phase 1, which is the POC. Right now in the repo, we can get model registry working and deploying that in a cluster alongside model registry, so users can interact and have like an early demo of the feature itself. And so far, we are planning right now two main things: the refinement of the feature. Since this is a new architecture, we were just doing first scaffolding in the POC, but we are now in a refinement process to make sure we get the best architecture possible for this micro front-end structure. So then we can start contributing in other places with the same with the same structure. And so far it's going great. We have a few items still on the bucket. We are working. We have a 3 weeks release sprint, so we are ending this week the last sprint, in which will likely have most of the phase 2 finished. And at the same time, we are working on the Kubeflow integration. We are right now in the spiking process, just figuring out everything that we need for the integration. So far, it's going great. I think we have everything in place to make sure we can start doing the integration. There's a few blockers that we have. We discover a few issues in the Kubernetes library implementation and how we get the login and everything else. But so far, it seems that we'll get everything sorted out again at the end of this sprint, so we can focus next the following weeks until December and until the end of the year into getting everything prepared for the release. Basically, it's just getting all the parts of like how are we improving our CI/CD for releases, how are we gonna manage data handling and everything else, and then how are we gonna get Dex working in our container to make sure we get authentication from the Kubeflow dashboard, how we can enhance our manifest to make sure they are production ready. the refactoring of the Kubernetes library that I've mentioned, and then how can we make the Kubernetes central dashboard to discover and make sure like they can like showcase Model Registry. There's no like I've mentioned a few blockers, but they are not like they are just tasks that we need to solve. So far, everything looks great, and the data we've estimate are more or less achievable. So there's no bumping the road. So we are still aiming for the 1.10 release. If we were about to find some like blockers, we'll try to scope down the just the release, but make sure that we deliver the UI regardless of that. So yeah, that's more or less everything.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lucas, for the details and taking the time in guiding through the community about this update. I think it's very fantastic. And for the people who are maybe looking at these meetings, I invite them to check out some previous biweekly. I forgot exactly which date where the roadmap was presented so that they can see the progress since then. This is fantastic. Lucas, just a couple of quick questions. So first is like, I think is like just by the way that you presented, seems that is a confirmation for the question that Milos was asking earlier about, let's say, if this is more than 50% far, but seems from what I understood that you still have the target date. So that is a good confirmation so that we can flag this one for Milos. Actually, also I have a little bit more detailed question. You mentioned that people can go in and sort of like try it. So sort of like an item that I missed to understand is like, do you have already the manifest on how you're planning to deploy these backend for front end and UI?
Yeah. We have the first pass. It's under the client UI, and I will assume that one of the tasks that we have for like the next phase is just to promote those manifests into the root of the manifest. But if you go to the GitHub repo, you'll find a few, like we've improved our documentation. So right now we have a script for users to step in and create like a kind cluster, a local kind cluster to test the feature with both the Model Registry and the UI installation. So you have the whole experience right there. And we deploy with that the first pass of the manifest that we need to improve/enhance for the deployment, or just do a review in order to validate if they are ready for the Kubeflow release. We'll need, like, I know we'll need to do some tweaks around that, but so far we have that already in the repo. So right now the project as it is, like the feature itself is working. So everything is working so far as a standalone POC. So it's just a matter of making sure we can integrate that with Kubeflow.
Right, that's it. Better. So my suggestion would be to say, rather than, for your team to consider is like, do you want to consider sort of like moving this one earlier in the roadmap? Because sort of like this will give people enough chances that as they go through it, because anyway, Model Registry is not installed by default by Kubeflow installer, right? So let's say the people need to opt in per the instruction that we have on the Kubeflow website. So it means that people that want to experience on Model Registry can go in here, and to have a Model Registry, they need to follow the installation procedure explicitly. It's not that it's out of the box. So I think it would be awesome is sort of like as they launch this command, then they have a version of the UI that maybe is not integrated, but they can reach without having to do some extra commands. How does this sound? Do you think it's feasible?
Oh yeah, for sure. Right now, like I mean, our installation just targets like a standalone POC build. So that, like, if we explicitly say that this version of Kubeflow, it's not targeted to integrate the central dashboard, because it won't, as we don't have the steps. we can detail how can they then port forward and get into the model registry BFF deployed right there. So yeah, for sure, we can do that for next sprint or maybe like before the release itself. Like we can have that in a like we can get a task to make sure we can get that going. But I don't see any reasons why we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, because basically my only suggestion will be to say this will give us rather than having like a sub-components with the manifest there and sort of like having to opt in to other location of the instruction, I think this will give opportunity for people to try it out, even when we sort of like try it out Model Registry for doing other type of work on the backend. So I'm not seeing when needs to be done. My only suggestion, let's say, let's consider if possible to move this one a bit up in the roadmap, because then we could avoid. Also, there was some questions about the deployment scheme that I remember Diraj had about this backend component. Sorry, this, the front end and the backend front end component. So let's say having this earlier in the roadmap will sort of like accommodate the time for any discussion that needs to happen for the deployment scheme.
Perfect. So we can both teams, both UI and Model Registry, we can have follow-ups conversation next, like this week and next one, to make sure we can plan ahead and get that. But I see that we have enough room to like, and there's no that much of work to adapt this and make sure we can have like, because as I say, like right now we mostly have that in a local cluster, so I don't see any reasons to not like having distractions, to make sure everyone can have that in their own cluster.
Yeah, and this indeed, let's say, even when we are working on the backend, since we are deploying the Model Registry, we will have as well the UI. I know that I will have to do the port forward to connect to it, but at least if we recognize some errors or something that is not playing along, and I think it's perfectly valid for an alpha scope to be that way. Thank you so much, Lucas.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
All right, so okay, so this is done. Let me just add a couple of items. Was there from UI side any other update that people wanted to share? Or otherwise, if I don't see any resident, I think that Alessio, you wanted to give some update about the CSI.
Yes, thank you, Matteo. Yeah, as I wrote down here in the agenda, we have the CSI manifest in the Kubeflow manifest repo for release 2.0.2.10. So if you want to try and have a look, you can just go to the repo and check for yourself.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's all for the CSI module.
All right, so let me just take some notes, because I remember that you contributed to the website. So maybe I will copy the link highlight here. See updated for. I think this is a fair representation. All right. Thank you so much, Alessio. And I think that you also want to speak about this other item here.
Yeah, can I share the screen so I can show the proposal? Yeah. Just one moment, please. All right. Can you see the screen?
We can see your screen. Thank you.
Yeah, as I wrote down here in the issue, I'm proposing to write a controller for talking with KServe, so an integration for Model Registry and KServe. And with this controller, we can watch inference service entities from KServe and connect to the instances of inference service and serving environment from the Model Registry DB. So we can check if a model has been deployed or not in the cluster. A bit of job has been done in the code base. I've written down and reconcile function that has been merged in the code base already. I have also a PR opened for the testing of this function. So I think the missing piece right now is to have actually the controller inside our code base instead of letting user implement their own controller use our function. So guys, let me know what you think about this proposal, if you think it's something that we should go on and work on it or not. And this is another step in the process of Model Registry integration with the other components, like the CSI model itself is a small step in that direction. And I think this is another one, maybe in the future, other can be developed. Thank you all for your time.
Well, thank you, Alessio. And I think that one item, so the quest, sort of like the ask is, there is this proposal open and you want people to comment on it. May I also suggest that we can iterate on this message? And one thing that, however, I recommend is that if you don't hear any other comments by, I would say, so this week is a bit kind of like for US centric, it's quite busy with some holiday. Let's say that if by the next bi-weekly meeting, so that we have sort of like during next week, you may want to ping people. I would say during the next week, towards the end of the next week, if there are no particular comment, I would suggest that we coordinate with the platform team to say, hey, we are looking to deploy this controller as part of the model registry. So it will be sort of like something sibling to the model registry deployment, and ask particularly Julius on behalf of the liaisons of the working group for platform if there are anything that we should be aware of from a platform/manifest working group. How does it sound?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you, Matteo, for your help.
Yeah. All right. To follow up in, let's say, about 2 weeks, to see any comments on the proposal, and then to ask platform/manifest whether any requirement for a controller in Kubeflow. Yes, right. Right. So I think that we have somebody new that wrote in the chat. Do you want to take the time to introduce yourself, Gaurav? If you want, please. We are welcome everybody. So if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Matteo.
Yep.
If I'm pronouncing it now right. So hi everyone. My name is Gaurang, and basically I'm a DevOps engineer. So I was like exploring the MLOps and MLOps related concept and learning the MLOps. So I came across this really exciting project, Kubeflow. So I saw the CNCF landscape, and yeah, this project is really exciting for me, and I would like to explore more about this project. And at the similar time, I'm a freelancer as well. So some of my client wanted to, use the Kubeflow into their systems. So yeah, thank you everyone. I'm looking forward to, learn and contribute to the Kubeflow community. And, yeah, thank you all.
Fantastic. Thank you, and welcome, Gaurav. I have one suggestion for you. Like I mentioned to everybody, this is the bi-weekly, specifically model registry component meeting. You want to know that in the Kubeflow, there is, if I go to community, there is a weekly meeting that happens on Tuesdays. So that will be tomorrow and runs periodically. That it is about all the components, all the project of Kubeflow. So you might be very well interested in joining that meeting that happens tomorrow. And then there is a CNCF. We are in the CNCF Slack. So my suggestion for everybody is to join on the CNCF Slack, because there is where a lot of questions can be asked. And beyond of that, that are a couple of bearings that I want to give to everybody. More than welcome, and we are happy to have you on board.
Thank you. Thank you. I will definitely try my best to contribute to this project. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you, Aaron. All right. So, okay. I don't think that we have any specific update on MLflow, MLMD, or training. I actually have just one small update about Alex, I think, or your PRs from last week. So that was bumped about the MySQL version. So just, all right. So this went on for a little while. I just wanted to sort of like give everybody up to speed. I see this connected to sort of like two main works. One is that when we are testing Model Registry manifest on local Macs, this version of MySQL is not really available. I'm also having the same problem. So typically what is that I do update the MySQL version to 8.0 and I leave it there, so that this is the way that I roll. So there is one side. The other side is that we having, since we are using this image, which is in common with the Kubeflow pipeline working group, that is a source of a bit of the CVEs numbers that I get from the trackers. So since we have in the roadmap to keep on track about the CVEs that are being reported by the Travis scan, as you can see here, this is the image that we share in common with the Kubeflow pipeline. And here there are quite a few numbers that can be resolved by updating on those ones. The thing with the MySQL image is that I've asked to the pipeline working group if they can at least provide some indication about which versions are best supported by the Google MLMD. Unfortunately, this has been not answered since. So here is my thought. I think that at a certain point, I know that it's good that we have mutual images, but at a given moment, if I'm not getting any answer from the Kubeflow pipeline, we can decide that we sort of like target 8.0 as the MySQL image, and sort of like for as long as our tests are passing, then sort of like we roll with it. So I think that this is the way that I'm thinking about it. Alex, do you want to add anything else to this sort of like summary?
Yeah, so the only thing just to add, sort of the reason behind this was a number of us are doing development on the dashboard using ARM64 Macs, and we're having trouble deploying this on locally on a kind cluster for development. So apparently a few of us, I think Lucas and I have both been using the manifest essentially for this PR that's hosted on my branch. So we were kind of hoping to get that merged or get some kind of solution to be able to do the local development with that, which I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know if the version was it 8.03 or 8.39 I was, so it is a little way,
yeah,
I guess, but yeah, that's So that was something that was yeah, okay. So yeah, 8.0.3.9. So if that was one that also has an ARM image as well. So I don't know if we can get the CI working. I didn't quite follow, Matthew. So would you prefer to stick with the existing 8.0.3 for now? Was that what you were?
No, what I'm trying to say is that
Yeah.
so about the CI, because I
Mhm.
remember that so what I did last Friday night is that I think that I found what was the problem that the CI was
Okay.
feeling.
Mhm.
So I think that since the GitHub Action Runner are running with I think something like a kernel monitor of sorts. I'm not even sure, like AppArmor or something like that. I dig it through and I found that that was the problem. So that is solved. So now all the GitHub actions are successful with the image that you indicated. So my take here is that if we wanted to say merge this PR, I don't see now any reasons whether not to merge. The thing that I would have preferred though, however, is that since that image is the one shared with the pipeline, I wished if pipeline working group commented on this one to give sort of like, yeah, like, these are the version of MySQL that should be using or something like this. But I didn't have any answer. So I'm planning of keeping this one on the side for now, not merge it today. But I think that as a working group, we can decide to sort of like, okay, we didn't receive any feedback. Now we solved on our side the CI issues. We can bump the image because the tests are passing, and at a certain point go with that. So this would be my preference. Also, I see that either you came on camera. Do you want to add anything to that one?
Yeah, I think I can. I'm not following this closely. I think whatever Alex and you decide, I'm +1 with that.
Right, fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Ederson.
Yeah, I'd be quite. I think that sounds like a very sort of sensible way forward. It would be, yeah, it enables us to not have to use a sort of private fork with the slightly altered manifests there. But yeah. Thanks a lot for looking at that, Matteo. It's yeah, really helpful.
Actually, let's see, it was so the problem just for since we are, the thing is that the CI were not showing the proper error message, I believe, because simply they were terminating too early. The moment that we added some login statement, then there was like this message came through. And with this message came through, I could find that actually in the Kubeflow, in another working group, they had the same problems. And sort of like I've applied the kind of like analogous solution that they had there to our CI test cases, and then those are passing now. So that was very helpful to have that one documented from the other working group. So that was positive. All right. So again, my take here will be to say, let's see if we can get some update from these forums here. And if not, then eventually we can decide to just move on our side. All right.
Absolutely, that sounds great.
Okay. And okay, so let me just mark this that one down. So this was okay. Copy link address. MySQL. Let's call it is MySQL update in manifesto. Main manifesto. Now CI is fixed. If no data from MQI to KFP, we might decide to just go ahead and use a later 8.0.x image version of MySQL, which one passes the test, 2 is available for ARM to help with the local dev. All right, I think I'll leave it at that. All right. Thank you again, Alex. Thank you again, Eder. And I think that we went through all the items. So this is just a final round of call. If anybody wanted to speak about any item that we didn't give time to talk through, please let me know. Or otherwise, going once, going twice. I think that I will see you at, for those who can attend, at the Kubeflow community meetings running on Tuesday. You can find the calendar just as a reminder for everybody on the Kubeflow website. If you go to the contribute button, you will find the community events, and here there are all the calendars and all the important events that are running in the Kubeflow community. I prefer to repeat it for the benefit of everybody. All right, thanks again, everybody, for the participation and your contribution, and I will see you at the next one. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
See
bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.